At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hey, folks, good evening and welcome to Phantoms and Monsters Radio, where the veil between the known and the unknown is lifted one story at a time. I welcome you and all our listeners, including first time chat participants. And I hope you find tonight's subject and the reports interesting. So, portal phenomena. What if the fabric of our world isn't a sealed container, but a fragile web pocked with rips, folds, and doorways into somewhere else? Across the globe, witnesses have described stepping into spaces where the air thickens, time bends, and impossible entities appear without warning. These moments, fleeting yet unforgettable, hint at the existence of portals, dimensional gateways linking our reality to the hidden realms. Now, in this episode of Phantom Monsters Radio, we'll delve into chilling firsthand encounters that challenge the boundaries of belief. A California farm stalked by a colossal biped, a Montana experiencer targeted by robotic and extra-dimensional visitors, a Wisconsin home where robed figures rose from a glowing floor, and a San Jose cemetery visit interrupted by a diving bat-like humanoid, as well as a Texas rally where a woman vanished from a locked porta-potty without a trace. Each account forces us to confront the possibility that our perception of reality is incomplete. Now, these reports come from diverse times and places: orchards, cemeteries, forest trails, quiet homes, but share unsettling similarities: sudden appearances and vanishings, bilocation, objects rematerializing from nowhere, and encounters with entities that defy classification. Are these random anomalies or the signs of persistent intentional portals? Could they be natural phenomena, hidden technologies, or constructs of an interdimensional intelligence? From subtle shifts in time to face-to-face meeting with beings that seem part human, part machine, tonight we follow the trails left by witnesses who have stumbled too close to the edges of our dimension. As we examine these extraordinary accounts, we invite you to consider a question. If portals exist all around us, what might be waiting on the other side? But before I proceed, please consider supporting the channel by clicking the subscribe and like buttons and by sharing our content. Super chat and super thanks donations are appreciated. You can click the dollar icon located below the chat box. You can also use the PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee links in the description. Thanks for your consideration and support. Your comments are always welcome. Please let me or the moderators know which accounts you find interesting in the presentation or share any suggestions for upcoming shows. I want to thank everyone associated with the channel. And now, if you're in the chat and have a question, please use all caps. And I'll try to get to each one of them after my presentation. And I want to thank Mortal Clown for their donation right off the bat. So thank you. So this first account, the witness states, "Hi, I have 2 California cryptid stories for you. These events happened to me on a farm in Bardesdale, California between 2003 and 2004. First event. My sister and her boyfriend and I were all drinking beer in an abandoned bus. The farm was a school farm where they also stored their old junk. It was about sunset when we heard crunching in the orchard surrounding the bus. There are lots of animals, so we thought nothing of it. What happened next frightens me to this day. My sister's boyfriend decided to take a leak in the orchard. As he walked off, he heard something behind him. After a few seconds, he came running back, yelling that something was out there. We laughed at him until we started hearing banging from the back of the bus. A couple of things to mention. The back of the bus was covered entirely in overgrowth full of spiders, ticks, rattlesnakes, and God knows what else. So no sane person would go walking through it. And this was an old 3-inch thick steel bus. You would have to be huge to make an entire bus shake with each hit. And when we heard whatever it was walk around the side of the bus opposite the door, we bolted back to my house. Now the second event, skip forward almost exactly 1 year in late June or early July. I was standing on my porch smoking a cigarette and it was pitch black outside. I suddenly heard something huge running in the field in front of my porch. My father was 6'4", 260 pounds at the time, and whatever this was, I never saw it. It was at least twice his weight and running on 2 feet. It sounded the way a person would run, just very, very large person. Now, this frightens me so much, I spun around to run back inside my house, except my left leg stayed straight, which caused my kneecap to dislocate, tearing all the ligaments and cartilage as well as the AC tendon. To this day, I can't walk right, and it's all thanks to whatever the hell was running through the field that night. I only told these stories to my family and very close friends. Now, there are a few historical reports of Bigfoot in the Ventura County, California, and there have been sightings in the Bardesdale area including the neighborhood, the neighboring Fillmore, California. There's also the legend of the Billowhack Monster. Bardesdale is approximately 6 miles from where the Billowhack Monster was first reported, which some believe was a deformed Bigfoot, but then again, it may have been another upright beast. As well, I have heard people talk about seeing something in that area for years actually manifest from just nowhere. So is this an interdimensional being? Who knows? So I received the following account through a UFO research colleague, and these incidents began in 2005. The witness states, I woke up 6 months after I had participated in the search for a downed plane in Rosebud County, Montana. What was unusual about that event was that I established a grid pattern outside the FAA grid pattern, and the people who came with me to search in the area found the plane almost hours after we started that day. Now, the FAA led search had been fruitless until the seventh day when people were finally willing to listen to me. I'm sensitive and was led to the area where the dead pilot found the plane. 6 months later, I had an encounter with an unknown robotic being in my bedroom. It was humanoid but robotic. I realized that I am paralyzed. I cannot speak, but my husband is dead asleep. I can only scream telepathically, in Jesus' name, you will let me go. Command you to let me go. Hey, it had worked on what I perceived to be ghosts before. The being said, sleep, you will sleep, in a hypnotic voice. I told it to go to hell. I was wide awake and we went back and forth while I commanded the thing in the name of Elohim and all the angels to let me go. I seemed to be floating above my bed, almost to the ceiling, with 7 things that were making this weird hum noise attached to my head. This goes on for some time, and the mechanical voice keeps saying, sleep. Suddenly, a new voice starts to speak in an angry and freaked out me while I was telepathically telling this robotic thing to go off. And it is a non-robotic female voice. It calms me down. I ask why they are doing this to me. It says, we have heard about you, what you did in a search for the plane, and we have come to see why you can operate on such a high frequency with your mind. So I get very calm. I end up losing time. I don't know anything for a time, and this humming noise taking over in my brain. It informs me that they are done. I ask them what they found. It replies, you are a secret weapon. Now, I'm a pacifist, excuse me, and I am very disappointed by this conclusion. I find myself tucked back into my bed, and my husband still won't wake up. I'm freaking out, but I go back to sleep, still feeling paralyzed. I wake up and record the dream. What is so strange about this is that I didn't believe in UFOs and aliens at all at that time. I have a first cousin who claims she was abducted, and I have always thought that she was a nut. I have talked to my husband only about this for years because I'm deeply confused over the dream. As a sensitive, I communicate with dead people. Unfortunately, aliens are making my life too complicated. They put things into my dreams, and I don't like it. I feel like I'm in some Star Trek episode some nights. There are a variety of them. They seem to be extra dimensional. I prefer a worldwide view that includes my dead mother talking to me or a dead actor telling me that he was murdered over these others who are coming through stargates or portals. I'm scared of being abducted again. Now, this next witness states to me, hi, I want to share a story. When I was younger, around 2008, I was playing hide and seek with my brothers and sisters, and it was dark in the room. After we chose who was going to hide with, and who was going to try to find us, I decided to hide with my younger brother under the bed. After like 2 minutes of trying to find us, our mom calls us to eat dinner, and all my young other brothers and sisters leave to eat. And my younger brother says, let's stay so we can win. I thought he was right. So after a couple minutes, we saw these 2 figures rise from the floor. These figures were so dark that even in a darkened room, we were able to see them, and they rose from there was a portal. I knew these 2 figures weren't my brothers or sisters because they were tall and they were wearing robes. Now, at that point, our mom was calling us, and we're so scared that we don't move. So our mom opened the door, and the demons vanished. The reason I knew I wasn't the only person seeing this was because a couple of weeks ago, my brother asked me if I remembered demons rising from the floor. He said that the incident had haunted him and that he was fearful of bringing it up to me through the years. This happened in our house outside of Akron, Wisconsin. So, this next account of family was at a San Jose, California cemetery in 1989 when they observed a large bat like humanoid perched in a nearby tree. The creature suddenly takes flight, heading directly towards the family. The witness states, I read your article on the flying bat man like creature at the Chicago Adler Planetarium. I have an account that took place in 1989. In the summer of 1987, my mother passed away from cancer, leaving behind 2 sons and a husband, my father. Every Sunday, my father would take me and my brother to breakfast, and then we'd go visit mom at her gravesite located in Alum Rocks, San Jose, California, which is the Calvary Catholic Cemetery. We would go to breakfast early around 8 a.m. This day was no different, and we arrived at the cemetery at approximately 11 o'clock a.m., and it was a cloudless, sunny day. We had just walked up to the grave and had a moment to get into a comfortable standing position. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw something black perched on the tree branch. It seemed to be facing us. However, its shape was undeterminate. The best description that I can give is that it was in the form of a black humanoid bat shape. I could see the form of what looked like a head on shoulders and head on shoulders and wings rising above the shoulders. The bottom part of the creature was much slimmer, with the rest of the body giving the impression of legs standing upright on the tree branch. But it was without definition, appearing as if a person used a black permanent marker and drew its shape. I hope that makes sense. As soon as I looked at it, the creature did a nosedive out of the tree with its wings spread out. It then straightened its body, doing a 90-degree upward turn, tucking in its wings and beeline straight towards us. It didn't flap its wings when it flew towards us like the Mothman accounts. It seemed to cut through the air. I read about bees and beetles sending a vibration through their wings and following a different type of flight. As the creature flew towards us, it curved slightly and flew between me and my father and seemed to target my older brother. I say this because he had to turn his shoulder and just managed to dodge this creature from hitting him in the chest. The beast flew past him, made a quick right, flew between the tombstones, and was out of sight. I was extremely terrified, and my dad and brother laughed it off. After asking my father several times what it was, he finally said it was Diablo, or Spanish for devil. I stopped asking after that. Now and then, I'll do a periodic Google search of the cemetery to see if there had been any other accounts of people seeing the same thing, but not at that site. I have attached a picture at the bottom of this email that I found on the internet that looked exactly the same. And in fact, the picture she sent me was one I've used for one of the creatures that were reported from Chicago, except that what we saw that day did not have red eyes. It is the same species of creatures that we saw. To my knowledge, the tree branch was not very high off the ground, and the distance between the tree and where we stood, I estimate the creature would have flown about 230, 250 mile an hour. This account is valid as I remember it. My brother could also confirm it. I also know of a fascinating account of another flying humanoid witnessed by a handful of kids, grown adults now, who saw a flying humanoid of a different nature. This was also witnessed in the daytime, and I could put you in touch with them if you're interested. Growing up in the Evergreen area of San Jose during the 80s and 90s, I experienced a ton of other inexplicable events as well as my neighborhood friends. I find these events very bizarre and believe that there's a good chance that the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, located just a few miles away, could have influenced some reality portal. The area was not as eventful or scary as some of the Skinwalker Ranch accounts, but in the same category. I grew up with about 20 neighborhood kids, and I'm sure they would be willing to share their experiences with you. My own personal experiences were from UFOs. I used my car headlights to get the attention of the moving lights in the sky, and it flew extremely close to putting on an aerial display. A nightmare of almost being taken to hell, and when I told the friend of what had resulted in his unintended exorcism, hearing voices in my dad's house and the ghost of a child that multiple neighbors saw at different times. And it make the and to make these things stranger, I must verify this with my brother, but there was a painting of that boy that was in either my grandparents' house or in his garage. The only event that I documented was the UFO incident, but I really would like some answers on insight into these events. I look forward to hearing back from you shortly. And I did get back to them. And, when you hear something like this, you have to wonder if these, other people do believe that these winged humanoids are interdimensional or from another reality or whatever. I mean, who knows? I believe they're interdimensional. And I want to thank Van Nice for the $20 donation, as well as Mortal Clown with another $10 donation. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Excuse me, folks. So this next account, the witness tells me, here's a good one that I was not the only witness to. My husband and I were attending a motorcycle rally in Bandera County, Texas, a few years ago. Neither of us was under the influence of anything. I had used the restroom, so I found a porta-potty. I started to get in line when a tall lady in khaki shorts, a tank top, and hiker boots and brown hair with a ponytail sort of cut me off in long strides and walked straight into the porta-potty I was headed for. The door slammed, and I thought, oh, well, I'll wait. So I stood just a few feet away, anxiously waiting for the door to open because I had to go. The minutes ticked by. It was taking her a long time. I waited for a minute, and then it just seemed ridiculous. I noticed that she had not turned on the knob to latch the door. I went up to the porta potty and knocked, calling out, "Hello, are you in there, ma'am?" No answer. I stuck my finger in the crack of the door and pulled it open a tiny bit to see if she had passed out or if there was some, in there or something. My husband saw what I was doing and he asked if she was there. I was so shocked. I pulled the door wide open so I could see and announce there's no one in there. Neither one of us could figure out where she had gone. The porta potty didn't have a back door. I was watching for any movement or sound so I could get my turn in there. It made no sense. She was too tall to have stepped out unnoticed and slipped away. Now, was this a time slip or maybe a portal? Perhaps in some past year there had been a doorway there to something else, like a booth that served food. For whatever reason, she walked through my time to get to wherever she was going. That's probably one of the strangest possible interdimensional stories I've ever received. And I haven't received one like that since then. So who knows what the deal was there. But she swore that she never saw anything. Now, a witness and his grandson were playing with Legos. A piece falls off the table and cannot be found. The next day, the grandson tells his grandparents that it fell from the ceiling. So the witness states, "Hi, Lon. I was recently putting together a Lego set with my grandson when he dropped a little Lego helmet. It bounces off the floor several times, and I finish what I was putting together. When I looked for the Lego helmet, it's nowhere to be found. We have a nook with a tall table. It is there we always sit and put our Legos together. I can't find it. I pull everything out of the room, wipe down the table, although we both heard it hit the floor. Sweep the floor by hand, and it's only a 6 by 6 foot room. It's gone, no doubt. I'm bummed. He's kind of bummed. But he's 6 years old and he keeps playing with his other Legos." So fast forward to the next day. He's playing with his Legos in the same area, and I go outside for a quick minute and come back inside to hear him excitedly telling his grandmother something. When he sees me, he is pleased, saying he found the lost Lego helmet. He was standing there playing with his Legos when he heard something hit the floor. He turns around and it's the missing Lego helmet on the floor. I asked him where it came from. He pointed to the ceiling and said it came from there. Now, several points to add. I don't think he was playing tricks on me, and I was the one looking, not him. Also, he wasn't going to take it home because it wasn't a complete set. Once he found the helmet, he took it home. Also, we've been playing with Legos twice before and had a small Lego piece fall out from nowhere, landing once on the table and once more on the floor in another room. Both times, I made sure I wasn't crazy by asking him if he had also seen the same thing, but he had. Also, he told me that when it hit the floor, it disappeared, and he said, "Well, that's gone forever." And he said that's when he heard it hit the floor on its reappearance. He knew what it was. So, do I have a portal in my home or a child that makes objects disappear or reappear, or even something stranger? Well, that's a bit of a conundrum, but I believe that it's either one or two possibilities asked by the witness. It'd be interesting to find out what happened or anything happened later on. So, this next witness states, "Hi, this incident occurred at a friend's place back in 2008. When we were all teenagers, we had a coal shed at my friend's that we'd hang out on every weekend. It had 4 sets of bunk beds, tables, a fireplace, TV, fridge, and other amenities, a whole lot. Now, one night, we were all hanging out in there when I decided I needed to relieve myself. I walked out the front door of the shed and started to walk to the right, but then I stopped. Now, let me explain the layout here. As you walk out of the shed, his house is to the left, and the right is where we all parked our cars. Further out, we're left with empty field and trees. It was dark by now, and the lights from the house illuminating the space between the house and our cars, but trailing off just past them. As I took a step to the right, intending to go behind the cars to relieve myself, I saw my friend's older brother standing there. I watched him for a good 5 to 10 seconds as he stood there, facing into the darkness. He then proceeded to walk behind a couple of trees in the car before he disappeared. Confused, I walked back into the shed and asked my friend what his brother was doing by the cars. The conversation went as follows. I said, "Hey man, what's your brother doing by the cars?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "He just walked off behind the cars." And then his brother showed up and said, "I'm right here." I looked over, and there was his brother sitting down in one of the chairs with a drink. He was wearing the same clothes I saw him in, and the only way to get into the shed was through the door that I was standing in the way of. Now, to this day, I have no idea how it all happened. I'm guessing I was seeing things, but the fact that I watched him walk around for a good 10 seconds also always puzzled me. I've never had anything like that happen. Now, if you want to believe this, I mean, this seems to be an example of bilocation, being in two places at the same time. Some explanations include the unknowing use of a portal, a possible deliberate use of a thought form manifestation, but you decide. This next witness states, "Hello, thanks for reading my story. I saw a black eyed man twice in different places, both dressed unconventionally. One of them gave me a dreamy, mesmerized feeling when he passed, and I knew he wasn't human. The first encounter was about 15 years ago on a path that went around a lake and had no houses for miles. He was jogging around me. He wore an out of date looking pair of red sateen shorts with no other trimmings or pockets and a red shirt. He was buff looking, tan, and had short black hair. And when he passed me, I saw his black eyes. I said hi and ran past me. Excuse me. He said hi and ran past me. He was going in the direction of where there was nothing but fields and groves of trees. He had nothing on him to see, but as well had no belongings. The second guy was even weirder. He appeared walking on the forest path of a park I go to. He also had black hair, but it was more prolonged and wavy. His skin was pale, and he was tall and graceful. I never heard his footfalls. He wore black pants, a white shirt with rolled sleeves, and a blue vest. He wears that style. Who wears that style nowadays? Nobody I see in public. He also had black eyes that glittered as he looked at me passing by. I didn't feel fear, just a trance like until he passed. I knew he wasn't human. A few seconds later, I turned to see, that he had disappeared entirely. I believe these woods are a portal for ghosts and fae. It was in David Douglas Park in Vancouver, Washington. Now, in this next account, the witness tells me, I've heard so much discussion about what kind of entities these men in black are that I will share a personal experience from around 20 years ago. Now, during that period, I would experience missing time lapses and had a distinct feeling of being watched. Had paranormal type occurrences happening in my house and witnessed a flying UFO in broad daylight. Now, I hope this puts in perspective for you. For the record, I have always been a skeptic. Now, during one of these very lucid dream experiences, I time traveled to 1964, years before I was even born, and met my parents and siblings. I came to their house dressed as a vacuum cleaner saleswoman. I don't know which brand it was. The house in question, I was never there in person during my lifetime, nor did I remember any photos of it. Now, my father, a younger looking man, opened the door and invited me inside. My young mother was in the kitchen and came out to meet me. After a few minutes, my older brother, a baby at the time, was trying, so mom took him off to see me. Excuse me. My older brother, who was a baby at the time, was crying, so mom took off to see him. My older sister, a toddler then, wanted to play outside. It was a sunny day outside. I sat talking to my father as an adult. He seemed to know me from somewhere, but didn't recognize me. Now, my father passed away when I was a child. This was very intense, emotional, and a learning experience for me. My father discussed many things about wanting to move the family interstate to take a different career path. He mentioned how living in a small town with limited opportunities was holding him back. He wanted a better life for his family. He was trying to convince my mom. I told him to go ahead and do it and that his wife would come around. Now, for the record, we traveled a lot when I was growing up. My mom came out and decided to buy the cleaner I was selling. On another note, she loved this brand so much that she kept buying these cleaners for years. I looked out the lounge room window. Outside the gate was a gray sedan with two men and one woman dressed in black clothing. They were white skinned and tall. They seemed annoyed that they could not enter the property for some reason, almost like an invisible barrier was between them. They weren't cops. They weren't even human. They wanted me to come out because traveling backward in time your timeline is forbidden by this construct we live in. That's what my higher self received. All I knew was to avoid them getting to me. I managed to get away and woke from a lucid dream with my memory intact. They still try to keep tabs on me today. One attacked me during my sleep, and I woke up kicking at him. He was standing in my bedroom and slowly faded from view. I still remember him as a tall, thin black silhouette with red eyes. My bed covers were on the other side of the room. I could see him with my eyes wide open. I remember that I don't believe that they were aliens from another planet. I think they were interdimensional programs. They play some role in keeping us trapped in this construct. Think of them as like Agent Smith from the Matrix movies. Their appearance is a hologram, an illusion. They keep us trapped to feed on our life energy. They don't like us waking up and seeing the truth. If we wake up, others can too. that will destroy their power structure on Earth. So when a person awakens, they try to drive them into a depression, suicide, insanity, prison, substance abuse, or discredit them publicly so that nobody will listen to them and they cannot awaken others. Sometimes mysteriously, the poor people disappear or turn up dead, usually by suicide, overdose, tragic accident, unexplained homicide, etc. There is something unique about my family's bloodline because they have been tracking us for centuries, forcing us to keep moving to new places. It has something to do with an awakening on a mass scale, and they fear this more than anything else. And they are terrified of humans who see through the illusion. They are some controllers, sentient AI programs, and they have downloaded themselves into the grid of our planet and atmosphere. There are the creatures that the elites serve. This is what CERN is opening the portals for. Once they succeed in dominating us, they will stop at nothing. It will become hell on earth. I do know my family's bloodline was sworn to fight them. Other than that, most has come from my direct experience. I have always seen them and called them the shadow people. Now, I know many people won't agree or will think I'm crazy. I don't care. There are many people like me who are finding themselves caught up in the battle with these creatures unaware. Hope this sheds some light on the knowledge that is already out there. Now, this sounds like a movie script to me, but honestly, it kind of entails a lot of different phenomena like men in black, shadow people, aliens, etc. I mean, a whole 9 yards. So, how much of that is true? Hard to tell, but it's an interesting account. So, folks, that's the last account. So, if you have anything to talk about or have a question, please feel free to ask me. At Paranormalism Net mentioned Fermilab in Chicago was the largest particle accelerator when CERN opened. It was. I mean, it was the first actual particle accelerator in the United States, and the fact that it was just outside Chicago, it's another factor we looked into the possible explanation for the Chicago Mothman phenomena. Now we haven't had any proof or any idea if that it was actually something there. But could one of these things open up a rift to allow these things to come in? I don't know. I see Dag Nabbit has said, has CERN discovered a way to open a portal to other dimensions? If they did, they probably wouldn't mention it. But I would believe that there's a possibility just because of the theory, the boson theory. I think there may very well be possible, but who knows? Any other questions? Already got that one. Okay, folks, you got anything you want to comment on? I'll take questions about anything if you don't have anything about portals. Oh, by the way, the website is Phantoms and Monsters website is up and running now. So I'm probably going to start posting tomorrow. Barbara Mora, isn't there a certain type facility in Tennessee? I don't know. I really don't know. I've never heard of one, but there may very well be. Dagnammit, there was a lady that practiced witchcraft in the woods, and she opened up about a portal and came out, and out came a dog man. Well, if you have that account, I'd like to see it. Just send it to me if you got it. I don't know what to think about that. Jose Sanchez, could the black-eyed kids be some kind of ET variant or another race entirely if cryptid? I believe that they may very well be some type of interdimensional creature that possesses others, or just a force or some type of entity that, you know, uh, attaches itself to people. I don't know. When I wrote the Alien Disclosure book, I refused to put anything in there about black-eyed kids because, quite frankly, there's no real explanation for what they were. But I think there may very well be an interdimensional aspect to them. Can't squatch. Any ancient text with rituals, chants, spells on how to open portals? Uh, yeah. I mean, I think most I make most spell books, older spell books in particular, have some type of mention of opening portals as part of a ritual or part of possibly a spell. Um, if you read the Book of the Dead, I think and I do have a copy of it. I mean, there are spells in there that seem to suggest moving through portals or other dimensions. Some grimoires, especially some of the well-known grimoires, always have some type of portal magic involved. Is it true or not? I don't know, but many of them do. Paranormalism Net. Have you heard of anomalous cube-like structures in portal areas? I have heard of so-called UAPs or UFOs that are cube-shaped. Could they be some type of structure that goes through portals? Very possible. I think most UFOs are portal travelers. I just don't buy the whole concept that that they are interstellar travelers moving from other universes or other galaxies. I I think they are portal travelers. Sir Wolf, hi Lon. Perhaps some of these creatures have slipped into our realm from the astral thought forms that have been created through mankind's thoughts and fears throughout history and will evaporate. Um, Possibly. Uh, I don't know how you can really say that thought forms may actually be astral travelers, but there could be something ancient about them. Jose Sanchez. Has anyone ever actually photographed the portal while it was opening up or closing down? So many accounts of people seeing them. I have seen a few supposed photographs, mostly in wooded areas, uh, where it does look like there's something opening, a kind of a shimmer effect of some type of opening. I've never actually seen a being going in and out of it, but I've seen the shimmering effect of a possible portal opening. I've experienced it through RV when I've done hauntings uh, in locations where there's some type of activity going on. I had mentioned before that when I do notice a portal opening and I do sense that I get the sound of bees, the buzzing bees, and that's happened to me several times. Dagnammit, opening a portal to another dimension may seem far-fetched, but there are other scientific theories that suggest it may be possible. Yeah. I mean, there are some scientists who believe that even though that it's mostly theory at this point, that it's very possible. Leakum, the spicy lizard. Have you noticed any patterns with whose contact or channeling spirits and what they have to say about portals and humanity's involvement with them? That's a deep question. I don't know. Um, I'd have to think about that. I'd have to think about that. I really can't say, but I'd had to think about it. It's an interesting question. I do give you that. Can't Squatch, heard of any scientific research into portals, government Stargate projects? Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to go back and talk about the CIA Stargate program, there's been references to possible portals. I think RVing or remote viewing may very well be a means to open a portal or to travel through a portal. When I have been involved with some type of protocol as far as an RV goes, it sometimes feels like that. Now, I'm not saying that it is that, but as descriptions of portals I've had, I mean, it does seem like that. But I'm quite sure if anything is ever released by the government, as far as even just the Stargate project, there's got to be some type of portal activity involved there somewhere. Aaron Q, do you think portals exist in our national parks? That is why people disappear in our national parks. I think it's very possible. When people disappear suddenly in these, you know, in these national parks or other places where people tend to disappear at, I think the best explanation is possible type of a portal of some type of gateway or even something that moves into another parallel reality or parallel universe. Uh, the fact that they are in the woods, why that happens, I don't know. Is it something to do with the landscape itself? Is it something to do naturally that causes that? It may very well be. But I don't think it's necessarily other creatures kidnapping or possibly alien abductions. I think a lot of it may very well be portals. Jose Sanchez, do you believe that sound can travel through dimensions as when spirits are heard but are not seen? Yeah, I do. I believe that wholeheartedly, actually. I have heard voices that may very well come through portals. I mean, David Eckhart is a perfect example. When he had portals opening up in his bedroom, you could hear all kinds of crazy sounds coming from beyond the portal, and it was coming in that direction. We even had, I even have a video on my YouTube site that has some of that audio in there. Leakum, the spicy lizard. Do you hear of portals in more remote or urban areas? Do you think there could be portals in highly populated areas like New York, LA, Chicago, either natural or man-made? I think they could show up anywhere. I think if the energy is present or the ability to open up on the other side, I don't think it matters where it's at. And I'm more convinced of that of what's been going on in Chicago over the years. Now, what factors cause that, I don't really know, but I think portals can open up in any location. Okay, folks. Well, I want to thank you all for coming in here tonight and putting up with me. Thank each all of you for watching and chatting. And if you donated, it's genuinely appreciated. Your support what makes all this possible. So please like, subscribe, and share. And if you have a sighting or encounter report that you'd like to be considered for this show or posted on the Families of Monsters blog site, feel free to forward to my email at lonstrickler@phantomsandmonsters.com. So until we meet again, stay healthy, safe, have a great weekend, and have a good night. Talk to you later. Bye.